Welcome to the section 2, Traveling to the Past. We will uncover patterns, reclaim inspiration, build a deeper connection with your artistic identity through practical exercises and reflection on your personal history. The section contains three lessons. Number one is Who is my inner creative? Number two consists of the creation of a deck of personal material. And the lesson three is around the philosophy of artistic expression and art. Lesson one. Who is my inner creative? We will try to understand where you come from, what shaped you, and where you want to go. The past is not just something to look back on, it is an active source of inspiration waiting to be revisited and reimagined. Let's start traveling. Here is a quote from Julia Cameron, taken from The Artist's Way. People frequently believe the creative life is grounded in fantasy. The more difficult truth is that creativity is grounded in reality, in the particular, the focused, the well observed, or the specifically imagined. So, we will try to dive into who is inside of ourselves, and for that, I recommend you take all of these prompts in the most calm and curious manner. The lesson invites you to be introspective, to travel to the past and explore your artistic origins. Your past helped you create many of the creative tools you use today, and everything, both the inspiring and the painful, can be fuel for your art. So, all exercises should serve you, and you can reshape them as needed. So, each prompt you can take and make your own. And if something is driving you elsewhere, where we are proposing you to go to, you can always reshape it for your own benefit. Exercise one. Honoring your inner artist. Some reflection questions. What is the first artistic expression you remember creating? How old were you at the time? Do you remember any smells, sounds, textures, or emotions from that moment? If there's a resistance to, like, you're not in the mood for this, just grab your journal and doodle something. Like, give yourself some time to be with these questions and let's see what emerges. Second exercise, mapping your artistic influences. When we are kids, we are sponges. We all know that, and we are affected by everything that happens around us. And those things may stay with us in an unexpected manner. And I want to share with you, for instance, that I remember having an aunt that I really couldn't relate to. She smelled badly, or she used very strong perfume, and she talked in a very high pitched voice. And I really hated going to her house to visit her. And this is something that we would do often with my mom, and I would suffer it. When I was in my early 20s, I wrote a few short stories, and she was the main character of these stories. So it's interesting how things really change with time and how the perception that we had from certain things can be shaped in a manner that they become something else. So there are a few questions here that might help you dive into that direction. Who were your biggest artistic influences up until age 15? What drew you to them? Their colors, themes, art styles, clothes. Try to remember furniture. Try to remember textures around your childhood. How do these influences live in your creative world today? Were they positive figures or do they carry mixed emotions? Who or what are the forgotten influences waiting to be awakened? Exercise 3, confronting the inner critic. So this exercise is based also in Julia Cameron's way of the artist's way. And the proposition is that we identify those voices that shaped us and maybe influenced us in a negative way so we cannot fully flow in our making. So think of teachers, adults, or situations that made you feel incapable of being creative. Identify three situations that didn't encourage your inner creative as a kid. Create a monster or monsters that embodies the voices of your self boycott. You can cut them out from colored paper or magazines. Stick them in your journal and add comic style dialogue balloons with those critical voices. Sometimes, to satirize those things that are painful or hurtful, can help us release the captured energy that is in this experience that shaped us negatively. The reflection on these topics is, what do we do with this material, no, that this influences these maybe wounded little parts of ourselves. So can we observe them neutrally? What stands out? What part of the just judgment has power over you? What part might be interesting or useful for growth? So when we detach from the emotions, and I don't know what is your relationship with your childhood memories or your inner kid, but for some of us is something that is very far from now and that we cannot relate to. For others is very much alive. But anyways, in these adults that we are now, we can claim this space of looking back in a protective but also encouraging growth mode to this kid. So try to observe and see what stands out really. Try to have conversation with this. Don't stick to these reflection prompts. You can make them your own, like sit with these situations and try to find juice in them. Now that you've been sitting with your past for a while, we can go and create our life timeline. Owning our story can be hard. Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. This is from Brené Brown, someone to whom we will quote more than once in this course. The idea for this timeline is to create a long strip of paper. And for that, you can use like two A4 pages and stick them together. We will fold them in an accordion. And for that, I recommend the easiest part. I don't know how familiar you are with paperwork, but it's not rocket science, this one at least. You can fold it in two, and in order to have 12 moments, then you can again fold in the middle and close one and close two, close the other, so you have like this three part accordion. And then when you extend it, you will have this stripe. So in a way, we have like a little booklet. And since we will have this one face with 12 pages, we will choose 12 key moments of your life that marked your creative journey. Write why each of one was important. Try to include both brilliant and dark moments, and summarize each with one powerful word or phrase, and then attach it to your journal. When I started doing these exercises, I mean, I did it a few times in different manners, but now when I was cutting the piece of paper and looking for these 12 moments, I started from the moment where I was born, and in a way, some really unexpected things that are not the moments that I had written about or prompt about started emerging. And it's funny how it ended being like a little story that pointed out a very specific thing, like trying, like what stands out in this case for me is how maths was something that was so appreciated in my family or by my elders that I had admiration towards too. And I just focused in this one moment and really extended in 12 moments. I did a second one that has some more moments, but in a way, like you create a playground. Let's say like this paper is our territory, and all of a sudden you jump with an idea, and if you allow this this memory to start emerging and guide, you can receive an important information or a message that is worth receiving from your inner kid, or these lost memories in the past. So, are you familiar with the concept of shadow? So, Carl Jung is probably you heard of him. He developed this concept that is super rich in many aspects and so useful to think of, and to try to track in ourselves. So everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. So, simplifying big time, we need to acknowledge these things that are unpleasant to look at sometimes. We can do it very slowly, and it can be the proposal of this course is not a psychological breakthrough, it's just to start. The idea is that we bind a little bit who we are now with our creative actions, and that we discover that we are a pool of creativity, and there are many things to go dive into to put into our art. So the proposal is to tap in there and also look at the things that are uncomfortable, so we can extract the gems. Shadow and self-acceptance. Dialogue with the shadow. Give room to this inner critic that is inside of you and has negative things to tell you. If we give space for this dialogue to occur, and we, as a kind observer to ourselves, we embodying the most loving persons towards ourselves, we become to have a dialogue with this inner critic. We might listen something that we need to hear, and there's a very simple practice that I like to that I really use, that has to do with giving room to this voice. When the inner critic emerges, it's good to hear it, acknowledge, like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but we are doing something else now. So you're welcome to stay and observe and be with us, the makers, the positive, optimistic part of ourselves that is emerging in creation. But you cannot lead, you cannot impose your negative thoughts, because we are going somewhere here. So when we don't push away these parts of ourselves, we can start slowly integrating and seeing what they bring. Here there's a link to some shadow work, if you want to dig deeper in this topic. That's the end of lesson 1. Lesson 2, a deck of personal material. So the idea is that we end this lesson creating a deck of cards, like a tarot deck card or something like that. Can you see life timeline as raw material for artistic or expressive work? By disassembling key elements from your personal history, we will create a deck of personal material, a source of inspiration, a storytelling device, or even an oracle to guide your creative path. So let's break down your timeline and create our deck of cards. Look at the 12 key moments that you chose to put in your timeline. Then identify settings and places, for example, the childhood home, the city, the street, kitchen, living room, people and agents, roles like mother, father, electrician, whatever people is involved in this memory, pets, cats, whatever. Then identify objects like table, chair, whatever is around in this situation. And then which are the actions that are happening there? Conversation, talking, running, jumping. try to disaggregate the components, like really try to find everything that is in this scene that you chose to fix in your timeline, and identify what's the atmosphere for cold, warm, melancholic, or chaotic. Find that adjectives, whatever characteristics you can depict in the agents or in the atmosphere or in whatever, like what does this memory emerge, like you are really really going deeper and deeper, like disaggregating all this content of this scene that you chose. You can choose any other category, and random words that come to you can also be elements. Now we will create the deck of cards. So we can create as many cards as we want. And for that, we recommend that you use sturdy paper and just write one element per card. You can organize the cards by category using colors. For instance, red for all the actions, yellow for all the people. Make the cards beautiful for you, that you want to use them. So this is your toolkit. So it might be something that you go to often, or in moments of blockage, or in moments we will see how you use it. You can even use it as an oracle. You can take a card every day to spark your activity, or just to be near yourself, like knowing that this is a part of you, what made you, like the story that made you. You can also add fictional or imagined elements to your deck. This is yours and it's for you to tailor made. After you did this, you can go fill your creative journal, picking 5 random cards from your deck, and you can write a paragraph or two using those elements and decorate around your writing, draw, add stamps. Like you can make this exercise your own. Like what I would do, for instance, is start by short sentences, like picking, maybe if I had them separated by categories, I would pick an agent, I would pick a space, I would pick an attitude, and I would pick an atmosphere, I mean, and some adjectives, and then I would try to create one sentence, and then start developing from there as far from reality as possible. Exercise 3, artist identikit. We've been looking at your past in a playful manner, but also we might have discovered some things that we weren't aware of before. So let's try to make an identikit of this creative that we have inside. What do they look like? How old are they? What's their expression, aura, or clothing? What's in their drawers? What do they collect? What color is their favorite food? How do they plate it? What actually nurtures them? What recharges them? What tools do they carry? If they had a sigil or a symbol, what would it be? So let's really depict the figurine of this inner creative that we all carry with us. What does it look like? And all of these descriptive things. Go in as much detail as you want, but honor this creative inner self that you carry with you. Here there are some optional prompts if you want to add on. You can draw a portrait of your inner artist in your journal and write them a grateful letter. Tell them they are seen, welcome, needed, and appreciated. I strongly recommend you write this letter and listen what your inner creative has to say. And if this type of exercise makes you cringe, why do you think that is? Sometimes we really find resistance with these expressions of appreciation for inner parts of ourselves. So pay attention there. There's some information to be discovered, maybe. This is the end of lesson 2. Lesson 3: the philosophy of artistic expression and craft. So, this lesson is really synthesized for the sake of the flow of this presentation. The PDF version that is in the folder as well, it's a little bit richer, but still, this is just a glimpse of certain main ideas of different historical moments that depict what's the concept of art in different moments of history. So, since ancient times, thinkers have explored art as a divine gift, discipline, disruption, or healing force. Let's explore ideas from Western and Eastern traditions. The goal, in the way this information is organized, what we are trying to look for is if you there's some identification that can occur with certain ideas, and in this manner to enrich our own creative ethos. The exercises are optional, and they are there for you to explore freely. So also, if you feel attracted by any of these ideas, go Google or discuss with friends or try to go a little bit deeper. Ancient wisdom: art as imitation, harmony, and transformation. Plato: he saw art as a shadow of reality. He believed that art was an imitation, mimesis, a deceptive copy of truth. Humans cannot grasp the truth, they can only see an image, a projection of it. And maybe is art the only one that can capture that truth? The reflection that we bring is your work a reflection of reality, or does it create something entirely new? Aristotle links art with catharsis. He describes what's the role of tragedy, and he points out that the art is the place where humans can go express, not express, but process something of their own for becoming better people. I am oversimplifying, of course. Go read The Poetic of Aristotle. It's a very short and powerful book. For your own art, can you find that your art is provoking some change in people or evokes emotional process? Swansea: art as spontaneity. He has a Taoist viewpoint and says that true art comes from Wu Wei, like an effortless action in harmony with nature. When an archer is shooting for nothing, he has all his skill. So, what does this evoke in you? Are you able to practice Wu Wei, an effortless action? In the Renaissance period, the art is linked to observation and scientific method. Leonardo da Vinci, for instance, links science and inquiry. The creativity emerged from observation, analysis, and experimentation. Art is not just emotion, it is curiosity and deep attention. Can you draw something by observation alone? No imagination, no emotion, just pure scientific method? Notice how it changes your creative state and your perception as well. In the modern era, the artist is a rebel and a threat. Marcel Duchamp says that anything can be art, and indeed, this is proven with the fountain, this side urinal that he puts in the museum and challenges all traditional viewpoints and broadcasts how art is about context and idea, not skill. Nietzsche, Benjamin, and de Beauvoir. Nice philosophers, nice thinkers, nice writers. So, Nietzsche says that art is a defiance. We have art in order not to die of the truth. This is just one of his ideas. There's many more to go dive in and do so if you feel like. But let's ask ourselves: does our art challenge or affirms reality? Walter Benjamin, this German philosopher, talks about the aura of art and says that mass production dilutes the ritual aura of art. Technology liberates and flattens. So, what do you think? Is there a difference between mass produced art and an original? What is this thing that an original can have that a mass produced element doesn't? Compare a digital work to a handmade object. Simone de Beauvoir, art as liberation. So, this idea that creativity breaks constraints, especially for those historically silenced. Do you agree? Do you think that art is a space where we can express things that in other situations of life we are not allowed to say? We have no voice to express? Many things to think about here. Identify one imposed expectation and express, identify some expression that is imposed to you and try to express it through an artistic play. What is not allowed for you that you could say artistically in a way of liberating these constraints? Crafts as resistance and care. Gloria Ansaldúa talks about art as healing borderlands. So, art is our response to the world's wounds. Super interesting concept, the borders and the possibility of art as healing. And the proposition for this idea of art as a healing tool for the wounds that we historically carry is to choose one wound of yourself, or it can be from the world as well, cultural, whatever you identify as problematic, and try to express something about it through words or color or texture. Like find one element, very simple, that can depict this wound and try to I will take it further. You can do it as you want, but I recommend like try to find one little symbol that you can start repeating as a pattern and see what happens when in repetition, what happens in the moment where the intersection occurs or the separation occurs. I don't know if it was clear, but you can make this proposition, this prompt your own and play with the wound and the power of healing. Craft as resistance and care. Suetsu Yanagi, The Beauty of Imperfection. Founder of the Mingei movement, he honored handmade, mindful, and humble objects. So true beauty is not made, it is born naturally. The Mingei movement is a beautiful revindication for everyday use objects. The exercise here will be to find an ordinary object and reflect on its beauty. How would you infuse something similar with care? Like when we care for something, we can modify that object. Craft meaning and creativity. Richard Sennett, The Craftsman, super interesting book. He talks a lot about what's the role of the crafters in society and explains how, through patient skill and presence, the crafter is modified but by the craft he creates. Are you modified by the craft that you practice, by your art? Does your craft change you? Glenn Adamson talks about craft as resistance. The handmade creation resists fast digital culture. It's a return to depth and care. You can go, of course, read a little bit more about him, listen to his podcasts, and see what he has to say about the role of crafts in society. How does your work challenge modern production? So, what's your artistic ethos? Write a statement about your beliefs on art and craft. Return to your decalogue if it is helpful. So, what are your values? What are your philosophical thoughts behind your practice? Is art for truth, liberation, or illusion? Should it change or be preserved? Is craft as important as concept? Is your work purposeful or self existing? Does your work fight, heal, or simply be? You have an optional creative challenge here to visualize your ethos. Try to find a symbol, a sketch, or an object that can embody your artistic beliefs. Choose a song or a soundtrack that could represent your philosophy. This is your creative manifesto, in image, word, or sound. Closing thought. Art and craft sits at the crossroads of freedom and control, tradition and change. By exploring diverse philosophies, you deepen your creative foundation, even if you're a rebel, a healer, a thinker, or a craft person. End of the section.